Smoke and fire clawed through the dragon sanctuary, turning its once grand halls into a crumbling maze of stone and ash. Wings flapped frantically, echoing through the ruined corridors, but every human and alien had already fled. Everyone, that is, except Iron. His lungs burned with smoke as he ducked under a falling beam, eyes fixed on a small shape trapped beneath shattered stone. A hatchling. Its scales shimmered faintly, a soft silver glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Without hesitation, Iron surged forward. He grabbed the jagged stone, dragging it aside with every ounce of strength. The hatchling chirped weakly, trembling, and he felt a sharp tug in his chest. Its tiny eyes met his, intelligent, curious, almost pleading. Iron's hands were raw and bleeding, but he ignored the pain. One wrong move, and the stone could crush the little dragon entirely. One wrong move and he could die. But the hatchling mattered more than fear. The moment he freed it, the hatchling's glow intensified. Iron instinctively stepped back, shielding both of them as the room shook violently. A new sound cut through the chaos, a guttural roar, low and alien. From the shadows of the torn stone tunnels, a creature emerged. Its skin shimmered with a strange, almost metallic hue, and its limbs bent at angles that made Iron's stomach twist. It moved silently, stalking, but its eyes glowed like molten gold. The hatchling hissed, tiny claws scratching Iron's arm in fear and frustration. Iron held it close. "I've got you," he whispered, voice rough from smoke and urgency. The alien predator tilted its head, studying them. It was clever, too clever for a normal beast. Iron's mind raced. Traps weren't an option, not here, not with the sanctuary collapsing around them. He needed movement, distraction, survival, and he needed it fast. He spotted a pile of shattered stone and broken support beams. An idea sparked. Using the hatchling's tiny strength, he balanced it in his arms and sprinted toward the rubble. With a sharp kick, he sent a beam tumbling down a narrow corridor, making a deafening crash. Dust filled the air. The predator hissed, startled, and Iron seized the chance to leap over a gap and land on higher ground. Small payoff, yes, but it bought a heartbeat of safety, a moment to breathe, to think, to act. The hatchling nuzzled his neck, and for the briefest instant the terror around them faded. But the glow in its eyes shifted, like a map or signal. Iron didn't understand it, but he knew it was important. He had survived this long by trusting instincts and taking action. Maybe this creature could help him survive the next moment. Then the ground shook again, stronger this time. A massive chunk of ceiling cracked loose above them. Iron shouted, threw himself and the hatchling aside, and landed on a slanted stone ledge. Behind him, the alien predator screeched, leaping with unnatural speed. Iron's heart pounded, adrenaline sharpening his senses. One wrong step now, one hesitation, and they would both be gone. He glanced at the hatchling, its silver glow now pulsing like a warning. The predator circled, slow but deliberate, sizing them up. Iron's mind worked furiously. Could he distract it? Could he outrun it? Or could he turn its own curiosity against it? He scanned the room and noticed the broken sanctuary walls, strange crystalline growths protruding from the stone, humming faintly. Energy unstable but alive. Could the predator be drawn to that? Could it give him the opening he needed? Iron's lips tightened into a grim line. One human. One hatchling. One chance. He stepped forward, holding the hatchling high, letting its glow illuminate the humming crystals. The predator froze, its golden eyes locking on the strange light. The hatchling let out a high-pitched call, sharp and echoing, almost musical, that vibrated through the stone. The predator flinched, confused. Iron seized the moment. With a surge of courage, he darted past it, ducking through the smoke and debris, heartbeat thrumming like war drums in his chest. Each step was a gamble, each breath a small victory. He had no reinforcements, no allies, just his own mind, his hands, his will. And yet, for the first time in the chaos, he felt a spark of hope. Then, just as he rounded a corner, the hatchling in his arms, the ground beneath him groaned. A deep, resonant crack echoed through the sanctuary. Iron froze. A massive shadow swept across the wall. A second predator, larger, faster, and far more intelligent than the first, was dropping from the ceiling above. Iron's chest tightened. He had faced impossible odds before, but this was different. His mind raced for a plan, any plan, as the shadow lunged. One human. One hatchling. And now, a new, unknown threat descending from above. Iron's heart hammered in his chest as the massive shadow fell toward him. He barely had time to duck, rolling across jagged stone with the hatchling clutched tightly against his chest. The creature hit the floor behind him, sending a tremor through the sanctuary. Its scales shimmered darkly, edges glinting like broken mirrors. It hissed, a sound that made the walls vibrate, and Iron realized instantly that this was no ordinary predator. It was intelligent, calculating, and ruthless. He scrambled to his feet, scanning the ruined sanctuary for anything he could use. Broken beams, shards of crystalline growths, even the jagged edges of the shattered floor, all potential tools or weapons. His mind raced. One wrong move and both he and the hatchling would die. But Iron wasn't the type to freeze. He had faced danger before and survived because he refused to let fear win. The hatchling wriggled in his arms, its silver glow flickering in panic. Its tiny claws scratched his arms, leaving shallow lines of blood. He winced but didn't release it. "I've got you," he muttered, voice steady despite the chaos. "We're not done yet." The glow in its eyes pulsed faster, almost like it was signaling something, an unknown language only it seemed to understand. The predator advanced slowly, circling them, testing, calculating. Iron's mind flicked back to the crystals he had noticed earlier, the ones humming faintly, full of unstable energy. He could use them to distract the creature, maybe even trap it temporarily. He inched toward them, careful not to trip over debris or alert the predator too soon. Just as he reached a cluster of crystals, the hatchling let out a sharp chirp, and the predator paused, head cocked. Its golden eyes were fixed entirely on the glowing creature in Iron's arms. Seizing the moment, Iron raised the hatchling high and pointed toward the crystals. The predator, curious and cautious, crept closer to investigate. He kicked a small beam toward the crystals. It struck with a loud crack, scattering shards of rock that sparkled with energy. The predator hissed and leapt toward the light, distracted for just a heartbeat. That heartbeat was all Iron needed. He darted to a narrow passage he had spotted earlier, hoping it would lead to the deeper tunnels of the sanctuary. The passage was tight, forcing him to move slowly, but it offered cover. Dust choked his lungs and smoke curled around every corner, hiding further dangers. Every step echoed, sending tremors down the narrow stone walls. He glanced at the hatchling. It was trembling, but the glow in its eyes now seemed steady, almost guiding him forward. Perhaps it understood the way better than he did. As they moved deeper, Iron realized the sanctuary's collapse wasn't random. Beams had been cut strategically. Walls had been weakened in certain areas. Someone, or something, was trying to trap them. The predator wasn't acting alone. More of its kind must be nearby, or intelligence guided its actions from afar. That thought sent a shiver down his spine. Suddenly, a section of the floor gave way beneath them. Iron lunged, catching the hatchling just in time. They slid down a jagged slope, landing hard in a cavern below. The space was filled with a soft, eerie light emanating from crystals embedded in the walls, pulsing like slow, deliberate heartbeats. For a brief second, everything was silent except for their ragged breathing. Small payoff, at least they weren't cornered this instant. But then came the sound of multiple impacts above. More predators were dropping through the weakened ceilings, faster and bigger than the first. Iron's pulse surged. One human, one hatchling, and now an entire pack descending from above. He had no weapons, no reinforcements, only his mind and courage. He gritted his teeth. He couldn't fight them head-on, not with numbers and strength stacked against him. But he could outthink them. He studied the cavern, the pulsing crystals, the loose boulders, the narrow passages leading away from the drop zone. A plan formed in his mind. He would turn the predator's curiosity against them, leading them into traps created by the sanctuary itself. He whispered to the hatchling, "We're going to get through this. Stay with me." The hatchling chirped, its glow brighter now, almost in agreement. Iron grabbed a handful of crystal shards and threw them toward a narrow gap in the cavern wall. The light refracted, casting streaks that danced across the ceiling. The predators paused, eyes following the movement. Perfect. Iron bolted, sprinting toward the far side of the cavern while kicking rubble to trigger small collapses behind him. Rocks tumbled, crashing into the path of the predators. One went down with a shriek, another hesitated, confused by the sudden chaos. Each small action gave them a little more breathing room, a micro payoff in the fight to survive. Then came the sharpest shock yet, a sudden roar from deeper in the cavern. It wasn't one of the predators, it was something bigger. Something ancient. The hatchling stiffened in Iron's arms, its glow pulsing rapidly, almost warning him. Iron froze for a heartbeat, then realized the roar had shaken the very crystals they were using as traps. Rocks shifted, dust fell, and the narrow passage ahead partially collapsed. Now, escape wasn't just about dodging the predators, it was about surviving the sanctuary itself. Iron's jaw tightened. He had no choice but to move forward into the unknown, deeper into tunnels no human had explored. The hatchling squirmed, wings brushing against his chest, but Iron held firm. One human. One hatchling. And now the sanctuary itself seemed to fight against them. A sudden, sharp crack echoed behind them. Iron didn't look back. He sprinted toward the narrow passage, adrenaline screaming, heart hammering, mind calculating every step. Something waited in the darkness. Something the predators feared. Something that might just turn the tide. But what? The answer, and the next challenge, waited deeper in the tunnels, just beyond the faint glow of the hatchling's pulsing light. Iron's boots skidded across loose stone as he carried the hatchling deeper into the cavern. The glow from its scales was the only light, bouncing off jagged crystal walls and casting strange, twisting shadows. The air was thick with dust and heat, but the roar from before still echoed through the tunnels, a constant reminder that danger was never far behind. Every step mattered. One misstep, one hesitation, and they could be crushed, impaled, or caught by the predators stalking them. He paused for a heartbeat to catch his breath, chest heaving. The hatchling wriggled in his arms, its glow flickering nervously. Iron studied the tunnel ahead. The walls curved sharply, disappearing into a dark crevice. He could feel vibrations beneath his feet, low, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Something lived here, something massive, and it wasn't one of the predators. "Stay close," he whispered. The hatchling chirped softly, its wings brushing against his neck. Somehow he felt its tiny body pulse with anticipation, almost as if it knew something he didn't. He pressed forward, ducking under a low arch of rock. The air grew cooler, heavier, and the glow from the crystals dimmed. Then he saw them, ancient markings etched into the walls. Dragons and humans side by side, carved in deep relief. Some were battle scenes, others ceremonial. They told a story of alliance, of shared victories, of sacrifice. Iron felt a shock run through him. Dragons weren't just creatures of instinct, they had history, intelligence, civilization. And humans had once been part of it. The hatchling chirped again and stepped lightly onto a raised ledge. Its glow aligned with one of the markings, illuminating a pattern that Iron couldn't fully understand. But instinctively, he knew the hatchling was trying to communicate something. The carvings depicted a strange, glowing energy, drawn from the dragons themselves. That energy could be dangerous if misused. But perhaps, if understood, it could also be a weapon, or a shield. Iron's pulse quickened. "You want me to see this?" he murmured. The hatchling chirped insistently, then tapped the glowing pattern with a tiny claw. A pulse of light ran through the etchings and a section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, faint crystal light shimmered across what looked like a pool of liquid energy. It hummed, vibrating in resonance with the hatchling's glow. Iron's mind raced. The predators weren't after the dragons randomly, they were after this energy. Perhaps they had hunted the dragons for generations, seeking the secret humans had once helped guard. And now, Iron realized the hatchling and he might be the only ones capable of defending it. But there was no time for reflection. A screech echoed through the tunnels. One of the predators had followed them, adapting to every trap Iron had set. It leapt into the chamber with terrifying speed. The hatchling hissed, backing against Iron. He tightened his grip and scanned the chamber frantically. The energy pool pulsed, almost alive. A thought struck him. If he could channel it, he could create a barrier, even just for a moment, to hold the predator off. He set the hatchling down gently and pointed toward the pool. "We can do this. Together." The hatchling chirped again, wings flaring as its glow intensified. Iron crouched, placing his hands near the energy. His body hummed with the pulse, his mind racing to control it. It was unstable, unpredictable, but he had to try. If he failed, both he and the hatchling would die. The predator lunged. Iron slammed his hands into the pool, and light exploded outward in a radiant shield. The predator screeched, claws tearing at the shimmering barrier, but it held, just for a heartbeat longer than it should have. That heartbeat was all Iron needed to grab the hatchling and leap toward a narrow side passage, the predator blinded by the sudden brilliance. Once they were out of immediate reach, Iron slumped against the wall, gasping. The hatchling nuzzled him, wings trembling but eyes steady. You're amazing," he whispered, though he knew it was more than courage, it was intelligence, instinct, and the bond between them that made survival possible. He pressed forward, deeper into the tunnels, now understanding the stakes. The sanctuary, the dragons, even the predators, they all revolved around this ancient energy. And somehow, only humans had the creativity and adaptability to manipulate it. Only humans could protect it. Then came the sound that made his blood run cold, Another roar, louder, deeper, coming from the far side of the cavern. Something immense was stirring, older than the predators, something that had waited for centuries beneath the sanctuary. The hatchling's glow flared violently, wings spreading wide. It didn't just fear it, it recognized it. Iron's jaw tightened. He had survived attacks, collapsed tunnels, and intelligent predators, but this was different. This was not a creature to fight blindly. This was a force of nature, of history, of something beyond understanding. And now it was awake. He took a deep breath, forcing his fear down. One human. One hatchling. And now, the weight of history, of destiny, of survival rested on them both. He knew the next steps could mean life, or death. But he also knew he could not hesitate. "Come on," he said to the hatchling. "We have to face this. Together." A low rumble began beneath their feet, shaking the crystals and sending shards raining down. The hidden chamber had opened secrets that perhaps should have stayed buried. The predators were not the only danger anymore. Something far greater was coming, and Iron realized with a jolt. The sanctuary itself was alive, and it had noticed them. The hatchling's glow pulsed once, sharply, an urgent warning. Iron's heart pounded as he stepped forward into the widening tunnel. Every sense screamed that the coming moments would change everything. And in the darkness ahead, he glimpsed a massive shadow, moving with purpose. Whatever it was waiting for them. The tunnel widened into a cavern that seemed impossibly vast, its ceiling lost in darkness. The crystals embedded in the walls pulsed with faint energy, their glow casting eerie shadows across jagged stone. Iron's boots echoed with every step, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the massive shadow ahead, a shape so large it could blot out the hatchling's light. Whatever this was, it had waited centuries beneath the sanctuary, and now it moved with intent. The hatchling stirred in his arms, wings bristling, emitting a sharp, rhythmic glow. Its body vibrated against him, a silent alarm but also a signal, something he instinctively understood. They weren't facing just a predator. They were facing a force older, smarter, and far more dangerous than anything Iron had encountered. A low rumble shook the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling in slow, terrifying cascades. Then it stepped forward, revealing itself. A creature the size of a building, scales glimmering like molten metal, eyes like burning amber. Its limbs ended in claws wide enough to crush stone pillars. Iron's heart pounded, but he didn't flinch. Humans were fragile, yes, but they survived by thinking, by daring, by refusing to give up. He placed the hatchling carefully on a raised ledge, letting its glow mingle with the chamber's energy. Then he scanned the cavern quickly. There were fractured walls, crystals, boulders, and narrow passages. The environment itself could become a weapon if he acted smart. One misstep could be fatal, but hesitation was worse. The creature let out a roar that made the crystals quiver. It lunged, and the cavern shook with its weight. Iron ducked behind a fallen beam, heart racing. He realized the creature wasn't just strong, it was strategic. It circled, studying the hatchling's glow, the energy in the crystals, and now him. It understood. It knew instinctively that this human could be dangerous, unpredictable, and therefore a threat. Iron took a deep breath. He had no weapons, no allies, only his mind, courage, and the hatchling's guidance. Then an idea struck. The crystals. The energy pool. If he could amplify the hatchling's light through the crystals, he could create a radiant barrier, maybe even repel the creature temporarily. But the energy was unstable. One mistake could ignite the cavern or kill them both. "Stay with me," he whispered, and the hatchling chirped sharply, wings flaring. He placed it in the center of a crystal cluster and stepped back. Using a jagged stone, he tapped the edges, sending vibrations that pulsed through the crystals. Light erupted, intensifying the hatchling's glow, forming a barrier of pure, radiant energy between them and the monstrous force. The creature recoiled at the sudden brilliance, claws swiping at nothing but empty air. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, but the barrier held, shimmering with the hatchling's pulse. Iron's hands itched to adjust the energy to refine it, but one step forward or backward could destabilize everything. He had to trust instincts and timing. The creature roared again and leapt forward, testing the barrier. Sparks and shards flew with each strike. The hatchling chirped frantically, wings beating rapidly, but Iron remained calm. He had faced impossible odds before. This was just a test of precision, courage, and wit. Then came the unexpected. The creature paused as if listening, studying. Its massive head swiveled slowly, focusing on the far wall. Iron followed its gaze. Shadows moved there, more predators drawn by the energy. They were learning, adapting. The massive force wasn't alone. The sanctuary was teeming with danger, but each movement could be predicted, manipulated, controlled. Iron seized the opportunity. He kicked a boulder into the path of the advancing predators, causing a cascade that blocked them momentarily. Small payoff, yes, but it bought breathing room. Then he grabbed a handful of crystal shards, throwing them across the cavern to scatter energy reflections. Light danced wildly, disorienting the massive creature. Heart pounding, he turned back to the hatchling. "We can do this together," he whispered. The creature lunged again, and this time Iron moved fast. Using his understanding of physics, he adjusted the vibrations of the crystals, amplifying the hatchling's pulse into a focused beam of light. The creature shrieked, stumbling backward, claws slamming uselessly against the radiant wall. For a moment, everything held steady. Iron and the hatchling breathed together, their courage intertwined. Humans were small, fragile, but their brains, adaptability, and determination could outmatch raw power. That lesson had carried him this far. It would carry him further. Then the cavern shook violently. The massive creature's roar wasn't just a threat, it was a signal. Something deeper in the tunnel stirred. Iron realized with a shock. The sanctuary itself, the ancient energy, the predators, they were all part of something bigger. Something that had been waiting, watching, and now it was awake. He glanced at the hatchling. Its glow pulsed in rapid succession, wings bristling, eyes locking onto his. They were ready. They had to be. The next move would determine survival, or death. One human, one hatchling facing the impossible. And yet Iron smiled grimly. They had made it this far. They could make it further. The massive creature lunged again, faster, smarter. Iron tightened his grip on a crystal shard, dodged a claw, and tapped a pulse into the cluster, sending a surge of radiant light through the chamber. The force hit the creature full on. It shrieked, staggering, momentarily blinded. That single instant was all Iron needed. He grabbed the hatchling, sprinted toward a narrow side passage, diving through just as the cavern began to collapse around them. Dust, stone, and crystal shards rained down. The predator's roar echoed, frustrated but alive. Iron's lungs burned, chest heaving, but his mind raced already. He knew this was far from over. Every choice, every step, every pulse of energy had consequences. They had survived the first wave, but now a larger mystery awaited. He paused in the passage, the hatchling clinging to him. Its glow pulsed gently now, almost approving. Iron knew one thing. The sanctuary had secrets far older and far more dangerous than the predators alone. And the next challenge would push both of them to the edge, testing courage, intelligence, and determination like never before. Above, deeper within the sanctuary, a faint hum grew louder, a signal of power and purpose that neither predator nor human fully understood. Iron's eyes narrowed. One human. One hatchling. And now, a challenge far beyond survival. Something was coming, and this time, it would demand everything they had. Iron stumbled into a smaller chamber, dust choking the air, rubble crunching underfoot. The hatchling clung to him, wings beating weakly, scales dim from exhaustion. For a moment, all sound vanished except the soft hum of the crystals embedded in the walls. The cavern they had just escaped from groaned behind them, a warning that the massive creature and the predators were still out there, waiting, hunting. He pressed the hatchling gently against his chest. "We made it, for now," he whispered, voice hoarse but steady. Its silver glow flickered, pulsing in time with his heartbeat, and he realized it wasn't just light, it was communication. The hatchling wasn't merely surviving, it was guiding him, showing him what to do next. Humans weren't alone in the fight. Together, they were capable of extraordinary things. The chamber wasn't empty. Against the far wall, crystals formed a shallow basin, pulsating with energy stronger than anything Iron had seen. This was the source. He knelt beside it, studying the surface. The liquid shimmered, rippling with waves of light that reacted to the hatchling's glow. And then he understood. This wasn't just energy to defend against predators. It was life. A force that had sustained dragons for centuries. And now it had chosen him as its protector. Iron ran a hand along the basin. The energy pulsed, gentle and alive, and he felt something deep within himself stir. Courage, yes, but also clarity. Every decision he had made, every risk taken, had led him here. Humans were fragile in body, yes, but brilliant in mind, adaptable in ways no predator could anticipate. The sanctuary's secrets, the ancient alliances, the energy itself, they had waited for someone capable, someone willing to act with intelligence and compassion. The hatchling chirped, leaping onto his shoulder. Its small eyes met his, bright and unwavering. Iron smiled. "We're going to protect them. All of them," he said. The hatchling nuzzled him in response, wings brushing his cheek. That tiny gesture carried more weight than any battle. It was trust, partnership, hope. Together they were no longer just survivors. They were guardians. Suddenly a tremor ran through the chamber. Iron tensed. The predators hadn't given up. Their massive ally hadn't disappeared, it had only retreated. But it hesitated now. Perhaps it recognized the shift in power, the bond between human and hatchling, the energy pulsing in the basin. For the first time he saw hesitation in a predator. Opportunity. He stood tall, the hatchling perched firmly on his shoulder, glowing softly. "We're not afraid," he said aloud, voice echoing against the cavern walls. The creatures outside could hear it, see it, or perhaps sense it. Humans had no natural power to match theirs physically, yet here he was, standing undaunted, guiding an energy the predators could not control. Courage, intelligence, and empathy had become a weapon. Iron took a cautious step forward. The chamber's energy responded to him, flowing around his hands, forming a protective aura. Small stones levitated briefly, then settled gently as if acknowledging his presence. He smiled grimly. One human, yes, but a human capable of thinking, adapting, and acting decisively could tip the scales. That was humanity's greatest strength. He glanced at the hatchling. Its glow pulsed faster now, brightening the chamber with radiant silver light. Iron knew the predators would return, that the sanctuary itself had more secrets to reveal. But he also knew something vital. Courage and intelligence were more potent than fear. Every choice he had made, every risk he had taken, had not only saved himself but had preserved the life of the dragon family and the secret energy that bound them. For the first time, the silence of the chamber felt like safety rather than emptiness. The hatchling chirped once more, then hopped to the edge of the basin, tail flicking, wings fluttering. It was learning, adapting, and even teaching him. Humans were capable of forging bonds that even the most intelligent predator could not predict. Iron exhaled, feeling the tension drain slightly from his muscles. The predators were still out there, but the sanctuary had chosen its champion. He had survived impossible odds, not because he was stronger but because he was clever, brave, and compassionate. He had made choices when others fled. That was humanity. That was why he was still standing when everyone else had run. He looked toward a narrow tunnel leading further into the sanctuary. A faint hum echoed from deep within, different from the energy of the basin, darker, more commanding. His chest tightened at the thought of what lay ahead, but curiosity, that defining human trait, pushed him forward. Every challenge he had faced so far had been preparation. Every risk, every heartbeat, every small victory had led him to this moment. The hatchling fluttered beside him, wings catching the faint light. Iron smiled again, knowing they were a team now, human and dragon, courage and instinct, mind and energy. Together they had faced the impossible. Together they would face what came next. As they stepped into the dark tunnel, a faint shimmer appeared along the walls, an alien pattern, unlike any predator they had seen. It pulsed slowly, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat in sync with the sanctuary itself. Iron's eyes narrowed. Something waited ahead. Something ancient. Something far larger than any predator or force he had faced. He gripped the hatchling gently. "Stay close," he whispered. "We're just getting started." And somewhere deep within the sanctuary the faint hum grew louder, a signal that this was only the beginning. A bigger challenge, a deeper mystery, and an adventure that would test humanity's courage, intelligence, and heart like never before. One human. One hatchling. And a destiny that had only just begun.